I was excited to be a part of the dream theme, and then I found out I'm leading off the nightmare section of it. And certainly, there are things about the climate crisis that qualify, and I have some bad news. But I have a lot more good news. I'm gonna propose 3 questions, and the answer to the first one necessarily involves a little bad news. But hang on, because the answers to the third and but hang on, because the answers to the second and third questions really are very positive. So the first question is, do we really have to change? And of course, the Apollo mission, among other things, changed the environmental movement. Really launched the modern environment movement. Really launched the modern environment movement 18 months after this Earthrise picture was first seen on Earth. The first Earth Day was organized, and we learned a lot about ourselves, looking back at our planet from space, looking back at our planet from space. And one of the things that we learned confirmed what the scientists have long told us. One of the most essential facts about the climate crisis has to do with the sky. As this picture illustrates, the sky is not the vast and limitless expanse that appears when we look up from the ground. It is a very thin shell of atmosphere surrounding the planet. That right now is the open sewer for our industrial civilization as is currently organized. We are spewing 110 million tons of heat-trapping global warming pollution into it every 24 hours, free of charge. Go ahead. And there are many sources of the greenhouse gases. I'm sorry, not gonna go through them all. I'm gonna focus on the main one. But agriculture is involved, diet is involved, population is involved, management of forests, transportation, the oceans, the melting of the permafrost. But I'm gonna focus on the heart of the problem, which is the fact that we still rely on dirty carbon-based fuels. For 85% of all the energy that our world burns every year. And you can see from this image that after World War II, the emission rate started really accelerating. And the accumulated amount of man-made global warming pollution that is up in the atmosphere now traps as much extra heat energy as would be released by 400,000 Hiroshima-class atomic bombs exploding every 24 hours, 365 days a year. Every 24 hours, 365 days a year. Fact-checked over and over again. Conservative is the truth. Now it's a big planet, but that is a lot of energy, particularly when you multiply it 400,000 times per day. And all that extra heat energy is heating up the atmosphere. The whole Earth system. Let's look at the atmosphere. This is a depiction of what we used to think of as the normal distribution of temperatures. The white represents normal temperature days, 1951 to 1980. arbitrarily chosen. The blue are cooler than average days, the red are warmer than average days, but the entire curve has moved to the right in the 1980s. And you'll see in the lower right-hand corner the appearance of statistically significant numbers of extremely hot days. In the 90s, the curve shifted further. In the last 10 years, you see the extremely hot days are now more numerous than the cooler than average days. In fact, they are 150 times more common on the surface of the Earth than they were just 30 years ago. So, we are having record-breaking temperatures, 14 of the 15 of the hottest years ever measured with instruments that have been in this young century. The hottest of all was last year. Last month was 371st month in a row, warmer than the 20th century average, and for the first time, not only the warmest January, but for the first time, it was more than 2 degrees Fahrenheit warmer than the average. These higher temperatures are having an effect on animals, plants, people, ecosystems, but on a global basis, 93% of all the extra heat energy is trapped in the oceans, and the scientists can measure the heat buildup much more precisely now at all depths, deep mid-ocean. The first few hundred meters in these two is accelerating. It goes back more than a century, and more than half of the increase has been in the last 19 years. This has consequences. The first order of consequence the ocean-based storms get stronger. Super Typhoon Haiyan went over areas of the Pacific 5.5 degrees Fahrenheit warmer than normal before it slammed into Tacloban as the most destructive storm ever to make landfall. Pope Francis, who has made such a difference to this whole issue, visited Tacloban right after the Superstorm Sandy went over areas of the Atlantic. Superstorm Sandy areas of the Atlantic and Atlantic 9 degrees warmer than normal before slamming into New York and New Jersey. The second order of consequences are affecting all of us right now. The warmer oceans are evaporating much more water vapor into the skies. Average humidity worldwide has gone up 4%, and it creates these atmospheric rivers. The Brazilian scientists call them flying rivers, and they funnel all of that extra water vapor over the land, where storm conditions trigger these massive record-breaking downpours. This is from Montana. Take a look at this storm last August as it moves over Tucson, Arizona. It literally splashes off the city. These downpours are really unusual. Last July in Houston, Texas, it rained for 2 days, 162 billion gallons. That represents more than 2 days of the full flow of Niagara Falls, the middle of the city, which was of course paralyzed. These record downpours are creating historic floods. These record downpours are creating historic floods and mudslides. This one is from Chile last year, and you will see that warehouse going by. There are oil tankers, cars going by. This is from Spain last September. You could call this running of the cars and trucks, I guess. Every night on the TV news now is like a nature hike through the book of Revelation. I mean, really, the insurance industry has certainly noticed the losses have been mounting up. They're not under any illusions about what's happening, and the causality requires a moment of discussion. We're used to thinking of linear cause and linear effect, one cause, one effect. This is systemic causation. As the great Kevin Trenberth says, all storms are different now. There's so much extra energy in the atmosphere. There's so much extra water vapor. Every storm is different now. So the same extra heat pulls the soil moisture out of the ground and causes these deeper, longer, more pervasive droughts, and many of them are underway right now. It dries out the vegetation and causes more fires in the western part of North America. There's certainly been evidence of that, a lot of them. There's certainly been evidence of that, a lot of them. More lightning. As heat energy builds up, there's a considerable amount of additional lightning also. These climate-related disasters also have geopolitical consequences and create instability. The climate-related historic drought that started in Syria in 2006 destroyed 60% of the farms in Syria, killed 80% of the livestock, and drove 1.5 million climate refugees into the cities of Syria, where they collided with another 1.5 million refugees from the Iraq War. And along with other factors that open the gates of hell that people are trying to close now. The U.S. Defense Department has long warned of consequences from the climate crisis, including refugees, food and water shortages, and pandemic disease. Right now we are seeing microbial diseases. Right now we are seeing microbial diseases from the tropic spread to the higher latitudes. The transportation revolution has had a lot to do with this, but the changing conditions change the latitudes and in the areas. But the changing conditions change the latitudes and the areas. But the changing conditions change the latitudes and the areas. And the areas where these microbial diseases can become endemic. Where these microbial diseases can become endemic and change the range of the vectors like mosquitoes and ticks that carry them. The Zika epidemic now. We are better positioned in North America because it's still a little too cool and we have a better public health system. But when women in some regions of South and Central America are advised not to get pregnant for 2 years, There's something new. There's something new that ought to get our attention. That ought to get new. There's something new that ought to get our attention. The Lancet, one of the two greatest medical journals in the world.